Yeah, and thank you for your support. And I would like to pass a word to Marina Galat. She wants to present our next presenter. So please.
Dear Maria, thank you so much for this opportunity. And I want to present, dear colleagues, to you Dr. Pikka Jokelainen. She is head of function, infection diseases preparedness and One Health Staten Serum Institute, Denmark. And I want to say, I would like to thank you, dear Pikka, for supporting of our project, starting from the project actually application. And we are, of course, apologize that this meeting is not taking place in safety place in Kiev. We are so sorry, and we are looking forward that we will have an opportunity when it will be safety and everything will be fine for our country and city. We will be glad to see you in person, of course, in Kiev. So the floor is yours, please.
Thank you so much, Marina, for the kind words and for the whole organizing group for inviting me here. So very happy to be involved. And I will try and share my slides first. Let's see, here we are. And share. And then I change it to... Can you please inform if it's in a full screen on your screens now?
Not yet. Not yet.
Let's wait a moment. It's opening here and it's showing, but let's wait a moment that it comes. I'm also trying to join with my phone so I can see how it looks. So can you see it now?
We can see a presenter more.
Okay. Then I will stop sharing and try again. I probably need to do it twice still. How about now?
Yes, it's good.
Excellent, thank you. So indeed, my idea is to talk about, because this is about the social dimension of One Health, and I'm based here in Copenhagen, Denmark, at Staten Serum Institute, which is one of the few One Health institutes. So I'm actually bringing that idea to this, like how as an institute and workplace, how the One Healthness has been building in our work here. So I'm head of function for infectious disease preparedness and One Health, and this is interesting journey in that sense that it's really changing thing. And I think my discussions about this before with the other colleagues and other places, usually there's always like these reflections, like what could work, how do we do it, where are the challenges, but also to inspire, like see things that are possible and happening. I start by showing this illustration of One Health that was already shown before. Also, I really like the idea of thinking where we are, everybody, each of us, like what is our work role or interest and expertise in One Health, what is the role we play. it's so complex and large that we have our own little corner in it. And of course, here in my world, my main work focus is on infectious diseases, and especially zoonotic infectious diseases. So it's the health of humans and animals, and more the environment part is seen as relevant, both with the climate change things and also just overall remembering that many pathogens also have environmental forms. Society and the society, like social things, are also part of this, certainly, and this is also seen when our systems and countries are disrupted and so on. So it's like really shaking the systems. But I like to see, as it's actually written in this, that it's an unifying approach. One Health brings us together, and there we all play our role and can contribute. So that is one thing. A small light thing about this picture, there are 3 things that I'm always noticing in this, and one is that microbiology is lacking. They are very macroscopic things in this picture. Of course, the pathogens are microscopic, so they are not shown. Another thing is that the healthy humans are looking like us now in Zoom meeting, like only the upper part of the people are shown. So indeed, looking forward to when we can meet in person, then we can also see the whole person, not only the upper part. And then there are the healthy animals, and there's a green chicken, and I've been always wondering what it is. But last week I was visiting FLI Institute in Germany, and they said there is one chicken breed that is like almost black, and in certain light it might look green. So there is a very interesting chicken breed that is very healthy. So those are, but I think it's always nice to reflect on this One Health. What is it when we talk about it? State and Serum Institute, so my home institute here, we have been a public health institute for more than 120 years. So that is the long history we have and kind of the basic of our work. And formally, we have been a One Health institute now for about 5 years. And of course, already before, many of the work things were related to One Health. Many of the diseases we've been fighting have been zoonotic diseases and so on. But 5 years ago, we got formally some roles in One Health, and that's when we kind of feel confident to say that we really formally are a One Health institute. So after that 120 years of public health institutes, there's been, of course, also world changes, especially the pandemic has been shaping our organization a lot. So we are more clearly a preparedness organization, want to be ready for the new disease threats, and also this links a lot with international collaboration to work together to be better prepared. We clearly highlight this, that we are a One Health institute, and we are also a sector research institute. So it's part of our work to do research and use that. And the Public Health Institute role, of course, continues to be a major part. And this is just what we say as our mission is to prevent and fight. There's this picture of fighting infectious and congenital diseases. This doesn't say anything humans or animals, it's just diseases. And then our vision statement is actually quite rare globally, that we specifically say that we aim to be an organization that is strengthening health of humans and animals. And this is quite rare to get it to that level, that it's really written as a formulation that same institute is working on these 2 fields. Our focus area is the One Health. Even though we have that kind of formal role, we want to be stronger and better in that. So it is a strategic action area to strengthen us in One Health. And it's very linked to the other things that we do, like having collaborations is very related, and also the research and the preparedness activities certainly linked to this. And as strongholds, we again mention our kind of One Health approach for infectious disease preparedness. And AMR is part of this. So antimicrobial resistance problems are, of course, very much a One Health challenge. And then also, for example, vaccine research, we have some development research on both vaccines for animals and for humans. So what does it mean we are One Health Institute? So the formal thing is that in January 2020, and a little bit formally like some of the functions already in 2019, we together with University of Copenhagen took over the veterinary preparedness functions of Denmark. And that's called Danish Veterinary Consortium, DK Vet collaboration, where we at SSI host the laboratories. So we are reference laboratory for both human pathogens and animal pathogens. And this has been really interesting journey and a lot to learn, because quite often, if you think about the zoonotic pathogen, we can use the same method for samples from humans and animals, and then it's possible to get directly comparable data, and that's quite a major strength indeed. And there's also, of course, there's a lot of work to do to harmonize, but there are some synergies, and also financially certainly make sense, and especially for preparedness thinking, because then there is more people, more lab technicians. Like if we suddenly need to upscale some analysis, then there is more flexibility for that. And what was interesting to know is that in the lab level, it's really goes smoothly. People are pipetting the samples. It's like many lab technicians found it very interesting to widen the scope and new sample types, for example. And sometimes the methods are more advanced in the human field, sometimes in the veterinary field. And then figuring out like, hey, oh, this typing, why are we doing it like this in the human field, while the veterinary field is much more advanced? And there were like kind of sparring and learning from each other happening certainly in this process. Then I think where I wanted to have this topic for today is really like, I mean, workplaces are social constructs. It's really about people who work together, and both at the workplace, but all this kind of network structure that we are linked to each other, like I am to this project and these colleagues who are behind this. And these collaborations and networks, these are really the key. This is where it all happens. This is where One Health is unifying and bringing us together. And when we go from Public Health Institute to a One Health Institute, major change is that it becomes more multidisciplinary, more different sectors and different ideas and so on. So there is a little bit stepping outside the comfort zone for many, but it's also really inspiring and usually positively taken, that there's some new interesting things. And international collaborations, these things are really, it's usually like also in the previous presentations, like many of these priority pathogens and so on, it's not just like local, it's the same ones that are relevant elsewhere. Also, we very often can learn from each other, because maybe some infectious threat is not a problem in one country, but it is in another, and then there's different expertise to that. So it's also I think this aspect of collaborations is on purpose twice on this slide. That is a very important word. Then there's some examples of One Health activities that our institute has been having. There are several national level activities. For example, we have very well established central investigation group for foodborne outbreaks that goes across the sectors. Then we have a long tradition of the DANMAP reports and work. So that's an annual report on both antimicrobial use and antimicrobial resistance across sectors. And then about 2 years ago, we started COSO, that is coordinating zoonotic disease responses and communication and so on for non-foodborne zoonotic diseases and pathogens. And that is, for example, a nice example that in the beginning, it was mainly the public health field and the veterinary field. And then last year, we got the environmental sector into this national group that is meeting once a month and just sharing information. And it became because of the avian influenza cases in wild mammals. So that was like suddenly we went to the sector and the field of the environmental side and sector, and they were interested to join. And also the vector-borne diseases have been something where they have both expertise and interest. And just recently this year, again, avian influenza actually there was more discussion about the vaccines and so on, like kind of medical things, and the National Medicines Agency is now joining also this group. So there is when we think like how to get the environment involved in One Health, which is one of the action tracks actually in the quadripartite action plan for One Health, I would say like when there is some topic that is interesting and useful and needed, so then it goes quite organically actually. Then I have a couple of large EU projects mentioned here. One is EU WISH, is a wastewater surveillance project where Ukraine is also involved. And this is, for example, also One Health to start using the environmental surveillance components as part of surveillance of infectious diseases. And then I actually have a separate slide about the One Health EJP, where there's this group picture, because that was a large initiative ended last year with 44 partners across Europe, focusing on One Health topics, foodborne zoonoses, antimicrobial resistance, and emerging threats. And it was a large initiative, a lot of sub-projects, and we at SSI were involved in both I was a member of the project management team, and then we also had several people leading some of the sub-projects. And for us, this timing, if you remember, we formally became One Health Institute 2020, and they started 2018. So what a brilliant timing, like exactly when we kind of changed and more formally wanted to become One Health Institute. So this was a really good timing to be in this international project. There was a lot of work, for example, to harmonize the laboratory methods. So it was just really useful. What is nice about this project is that all the outputs and materials, of course, publications are still coming, some of them, but there's a lot of material online. So certainly useful still. And I myself go back to many of the documents again and again. Another project I want to mention specifically is One Health for Surveillance. This is a project that we coordinate here from SSI. This is one of the projects in a project cluster that is funded by the EU for Health program of EU, so the public health, human health side, where there is a focus on supporting countries to strengthen the One Health components of surveillance of pathogens that are priority pathogens for human health. Many of those are those that were mentioned by the WHO presentation just previously. And it's like direct grants to countries, and some countries in Europe decided to do it alone. We had 11 countries joined our like a consortium. It's in the northeastern part of Europe. And this that we do it together, we will be certainly, some of the outputs from here will be certainly also useful for other countries. And we are already discussing kind of the sustainability aspects, like how to share the news. But idea is that during 3 years, we are strengthening and also just setting up, building new systems for surveillance systems, and mainly like components that are complementing the other existing things. What I like about this is that the funding came from the EU for Health, which is on the human side, on the human health side, and that I think it's very encouraging that there is understood the need for linking across and strengthening the components that are. So it's basically eligible is testing samples from animals and environments. So the human side is funded elsewhere, and this is to add to that. But just a project name to remember, and stay tuned for updates on this. And my final thing that I would like to mention, where we have our experiences as a social construct called Workplace and Institute on this, we are also really actively involved in the international field of shaping One Health in international context. And one example, this was just recently published and now available. There was work done on like One Health governance in Europe and EU. And our executive vice president, Tyra Krause, was co-chairing this working group. And there are quite extensive documents and very interesting ones. And just want to highlight that there are two examples, case studies from Denmark. So the DenMap, the AMR surveillance approach is one of them. And another one is exactly our laboratories, that how we brought together the testing samples from both animals and humans. So I just recommend to have a look. There might be also something interesting and inspiring. And last thing is that, I mean, One Health things is all a journey, and this I really think it is a social. It's about collaboration. It's about doing things together at different scales, in small groups, in a workplace, in networks, in together with the large organizations that were also represented in this meeting, and so on. And I think it's doing it together with this unifying approach is it's really a pleasure to be involved in One Health. Thank you.
Dear Dr. Jokelainen, thank you so much for your fascinating presentation and also fascinating journey. This is really very interesting, and I hope that our project in our country will also be one of the steps in this path of cooperation between human medicine, also veterinary medicine, and also other specialists who are belonging to this huge concept of One Health. Yes, and I will be glad if our colleagues have questions. It's time for questions, please.
While waiting for a question, I can mention one more thing that I would also say, like these different levels. So very often the collaboration works nicely in, like, for example, in our labs, then between scientists. And I'm really inspired by the quadripartite there with the large organizations. And in EU, there is this EU cross-agency, One Health Task Force. And one group that I have found difficult, and it's just because of the structures in many countries, the ministries, they are quite separate, and they do have some common topics, but that's probably something that's where we can kind of from different sides support that, because I think in many levels we've seen the benefit also of these discussions and collaborations, but interesting also how it's different. I guess that's the social structures we have. Yeah.
That's true. Dear colleagues, probably you have questions. So probably in this case, I want to add only that I was also very happy because last week we had study visit for human medicine doctors, for parasitologists and entomologists. And also I was really glad to join to them, and finally we know how it's work for human medicine in parasitology in Ukraine and for veterinary medicine, and being an expert in for this group, you know, in study visit, it was really great for us because it's really give for us a lot of new things. We learn from each other, and I'm looking forward that it will be a first step for our cooperation, at least in parasitology. I'm looking forward. So many thanks, and we are happy to have you today with us. I know that your schedule is really tight, so many thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you, dear Pikka, for your support and